Here you go, little ones. That's it, enjoy your treat.
No one aboard the fleet carrier Resolute Dawn expected diplomacy to begin in the galley. Certainly not over coffee. The carrier had hosted alien dignitaries before, ambassadors, military observers, even war priests, but this was different. This time, the fleet was carrying cubs. Alien cubs. Specifically 6 juveniles of the Varcoon species, a predator race infamous for their ferocity, pack-bonding instincts, and complete intolerance for unfamiliar biology. Adult Varcoon were disciplined, intelligent, and terrifying in battle. Their cubs, however, were volatile. The diplomatic agreement was fragile. The Varcoon High Pack had agreed to allow their cubs to spend 1 cycle aboard a human-led fleet vessel as a cultural exchange. The goal was trust building. The risk was enormous. If even 1 cub was harmed, or worse, offended, the resulting backlash could ignite a war. So far, everything was going wrong. The cubs refused to eat. Fleet nutritionists had prepared carefully calibrated meals based on Varcoon dietary scans, protein slabs, mineral pastes, heat-treated bone broth. The cubs sniffed, then hissed, then shoved the trays aside. They sulked in their assigned habitat, tails lashing, eyes glowing faintly with irritation. Their handlers, heavily armored, sweating humans, kept their distance. Their stress hormones are climbing, a medic reported. If this continues, we'll have to sedate them. That would be seen as an insult, the diplomatic officer replied. Sedation implies control. Then what do we do? Someone snapped. Across the observation window, 1 cub let out a sharp yipping sound and bit into a steel support beam. The metal dented. Silence fell in the control room. That was when Petty Officer Lena Ortiz walked in holding a mug. She was not part of the diplomatic team. She was not a xenobiologist. She was a ship engineer on extended rotation, and more importantly, the unofficial morale officer of Deck 7. "What's with the funeral vibes?" she asked casually, sipping from her cup. The diplomatic officer rubbed his temples. Alien cubs, starving, on the verge of an incident. Lena glanced through the window, studied the cubs' body language. Their ears were flattened, not aggressive, but uncertain, curious, homesick. She took another sip. "Huh," she said. "What's in that?" the medic asked warily. "Caffè Mocha. Coffee, cocoa, milk foam. Ship approved, morale boosting, borderline addictive." The diplomatic officer frowned. "That's a human stimulant." "And sugar," Lena added. "And dairy," the medic said. "And happiness," Lena finished. The officer stared at her. "You are not suggesting." "I'm not suggesting nothing," Lena said, already walking toward the habitat door. "I'm just curious." Security stiffened. "Officer, that enclosure contains juvenile apex predators." "Yeah, and I'm not trying to pet them." She stopped just outside the enclosure's safety field and knelt, placing the mug carefully on the floor between her and the cubs. The aroma drifted outward, warm, rich, unfamiliar. The cubs froze. 6 pairs of glowing eyes locked onto the cup. 1 cub crept forward, nose twitching rapidly. It sniffed the air, sneezed, then sneezed again. The others crowded behind it, chirping softly. Lena didn't move, didn't speak, didn't reach. She simply took another sip from her own mug and smiled. The cub tilted its head. Then, very slowly, it extended a claw and nudged the cup. Nothing exploded. Encouraged, it sniffed again, then lapped at the foam. The reaction was instantaneous. The cub jolted backward, eyes wide, then let out a sharp, excited bark. It lunged forward again, lapping more aggressively this time. The others surged forward. Within seconds, 6 Varcoon cubs were crowding around the mug, making delighted churring noises as they tasted the sweet, bitter drink. Alarms began to chirp in the control room. Heart rate spiking, stress hormones dropping, endorphin release detected across all cubs. The diplomatic officer stared. What is happening? Lena shrugged. First contact with chocolate and caffeine. One cub smeared foam across its snout. Another bumped Lena's knee, accidentally but gently. They weren't aggressive. They were happy. Word spread faster than vacuum decompression drills. A human engineer had calmed alien predator cubs with coffee. Within the hour, senior officers arrived, then scientists, then a very stiff Varcoon observer, his armor adorned with ritual scars. He watched in silence as the cubs sat near Lena, tails flicking lazily, eyes half-lit in contentment. "You fed them poison?" the observer asked coldly. Lena raised her mug. "Nope, just a treat." The observer's eyes narrowed. "They trust you." Lena blinked. "I didn't ask them to." One cub yawned and leaned against her leg. The observer inhaled sharply. "That cub," the observer continued slowly, "is pack dominant among its siblings." "Good for them," Lena said. "In our culture," the observer continued, "pack dominants do not submit. They choose." Silence followed. The diplomatic officer cleared his throat. "What exactly did you give them?" Lena recited the recipe. The observer recorded every word. The cubs ate properly after that. Not just human-provided meals, but anything Lena introduced, always starting with something familiar, warm, and shared. The cubs associated humans with comfort, not threat. When the exchange cycle ended, the Varcoon delegation requested something unprecedented. They asked for the recipe, they asked for Lena, and they asked for permission to introduce shared comfort rituals into future diplomatic meetings. Months later, when a tense standoff threatened to erupt between human and Varcoon fleets, a small detail changed everything. Instead of weapons powering up, both sides exchanged mugs. Caffè Mocha became a symbol, not of dominance, not of surrender, but of trust. And across the stars, a quiet truth spread. Humans were dangerous not because of their firepower, but because they could turn even the fiercest cubs into friends with a smile, patience, and a cup of something warm.